Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Perhaps you've heard about this new Jim Caviezal film, Sound of Freedom. It just came out. I'm planning on going in the next couple days. It's just been released here in Canada as well, in select theaters, and it's making a huge splash. It touches on the issue of human trafficking. This is one of the biggest projects Jim Caviezel's done in a long time, and he just gave an interview with a podcast that I actually really like called The Sean Ryan Show. I'm not advocating for every single thing that's been said on that show. Obviously, it's not a. There's some explicit language and some topics here and there. But it's been fascinating to watch this guy. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, ex-CIA operative, and he sort of found faith recently. He's been talking about that, and he's very right-wing, very conservative, very fascinating interviews. Anyway, I'm just saying if you're looking for something to listen to, I, generally speaking, quite enjoy it. But don't shoot the messenger if you hear something you don't like. In any case, he just interviewed Jim Caviezal, and it was an extraordinary interview. It really was. They talked about everything from faith. I mean, Jim Caviezal taught him the St. Michael prayer. Fascinating stuff. And one of the things they talked about in depth was how he filmed The Passion of the Christ and what he went through. And Jim Caviezal told the story of how getting struck by lightning while filming the movie actually led to him having an operation where he actually died on the operating table. And he described what seems to be a near-death experience, and it's quite fascinating. So let's just take a look.
The wind was blowing hard, and the clouds were. It felt like I could jump up and touch them, and that was very mystical. What was happening in the ground, you could feel something in the ground, and then the wind was blowing, and I couldn't. I could see everybody. There were about 350 people that were around me on a hill, and the wind was blowing, and then I couldn't hear the wind, and I could feel the suctioning occur, and then it was probably more like 3 seconds. It felt like 5, but it was probably less than that, and then boom, I shot me out of my body. I saw the back side, not here, and then I was back. Then Jan Michelini runs over, and I remember looking at him, and all of a sudden I saw his hand blow up. Sparks came out. There was another shot that came down, and then I was in shock. And then so I was on a lot of medication until 2009 was my first surgery at Stanford. And then my second one was at Cleveland Clinic in 2014. And that saved me, saved my life. I died on the operating table. I've never told that, but I died. Dr. Gillinoff, Dr. Griffin were my doctors. They witnessed it. They brought me back. But I was supposed to be here. But the reason why I brought that up is I felt incredible peace and love that's waiting for us.
When you died?
Yes. It was amazing. And I didn't, I had this, just hang on for a second. It was really calm. And then I saw the whole thing. It didn't hurt. The moment it was like taking an egg, cracking it, and then it just came out, and I was dead. I didn't have to breathe anymore. And I was looking at everybody running the room, and they were panicking. And they were doing stuff, but they were really scared.
Wow, you remember this?
No, I saw it. I watched the whole thing. And I watched everything. And then I saw them put the flaps on, and then when I came back, that's when it hurt. But I heard the horn go off. And it didn't hurt my ears. But it was like when I first met God, when he asked me to become an actor, I felt this great peace and love. The reason why I'm talking about it right now is because so many people don't have the peace. They don't have the love. And when I was on the cross, Jesus, he says 7 things. And he says, woman, behold your son. To John, he says this. John, behold your mother. In Aramaic, woman is intatha. And then he calls her also emi, mother. He differentiates. People have to say, why? And the woman is Genesis. I will put enmity between the woman's seed and his. And the Mother Mary is the ark. She carries the Son of God to us. And she is the most beautiful thing there's ever been.
That's pretty fascinating. You can see there after he tells the story, he basically was starting to do an explanation of the reality of the Marian tradition in the Catholic Church. And, sometimes I'm very skeptical of near-death experiences, especially when, there have been a lot of them. Of course, if you're someone who's far away from the church and you have this near-death experience and they say, oh, I just felt a peace, I felt a light, I felt this overwhelming love, blah, blah, blah. And you come back and that could go one of two ways. It could be something like affirming you in your sin, affirming you being away from the church. If you're not a practicing Catholic, if you're not close to the church, if you're not living a state of grace, that's a very dangerous game because, you're going to come back and probably not going to change anything. You're going to feel like, wow, what I'm doing is really good. But then there are some near-death experiences, and I interviewed a fellow about it last year, and they have a profound, deep Catholicizing effect on the person. And, I got to think about a guy like Jim Caviezal. He's a very devout man. Actually, my wife met him while we were in Florida last year for the LifeSite conference. And she was sitting by the family little kiddie pool with our baby. And he was out there getting some sun, as actors do. And they talked about scapulars and whatever. So, Jim, if you ever do see this, my wife says hello. Maybe you remember her. But, he's a deeply faithful, deeply Catholic man. And he's gone through a lot of suffering, a ton of suffering. You listen to what he went through filming The Passion of the Christ, and it's just remarkable. This suffering, and he had 2 heart surgeries because of being struck by lightning so badly. He was at the brink of hypothermia. It just incredible things. Lots of dislocations and injuries, and so I don't know. Very fascinating story from Jim Caviezal, and so pray for him because this movie Sound of Freedom is going to blow the roof off of all the Epstein Island nonsense, all the human trafficking stuff, and just like the last time he made the greatest film ever made in history to that point, The Passion of the Christ, they labeled the film anti-Semitic and whatever. And I don't know what they're going to do with this one, but these leftist Hollywood whack jobs, they have no morals, they have no scruples. So they'll find a way to make Caviezal and the people who made that film look bad for making a film exposing the sexual slavery of children. Just watch. But so go see that movie if you haven't yet. And as always, let me know what you think in the comments. This has been the Kennedy Report. Until next time, God bless.